Hello, everyone. In today's episode, I'm joined with Aleina, and it's going to be a really cool episode because Aleina has arthritis, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her arthritis, and we're also going to talk about a little bit about Crohn's because uh, her dad's got Crohn's, and I've got Crohn's, so it's going to bind in really well. um,
Yeah.
yeah. So Aleina, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for inviting me, of course.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good chat. Good chat.
For sure.
Yeah.
So sorry, that was my dog. I'm hoping
No,
she'll
no,
be quiet for the whole thing, but it's okay.
it's fine.
Okay, so I guess I'll start off with a little bit about myself, if you don't, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, of
My
course.
name is Aleina. I live in Ontario, Canada. So I'm specifically more in Hamilton, but I grew up in Toronto. And I feel like my story, I guess, is kind of unique because I did get diagnosed right in the beginning of the pandemic. And it was a little bit difficult, I guess, to navigate the healthcare systems and resources and stuff when everything kind of just went blank. But I guess my official diagnosis is psoriatic arthritis, which is a unique type of arthritis. Um, I still have all of the classic, arthritis symptoms like the joint pain and the swelling and chronic fatigue, things like that. But I think what makes psoriatic arthritis unique is there's like an inflammation of the skin that's part of it. So to get diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis, you have to also have psoriasis on top of everything. So basically, I am just a big human body of swelling and inflammation at all times.
Oh,
Unfortunately, some
yeah,
days are better than others, but I feel like that's the brief of what I guess my arthritis is.
yeah, yeah. Like it's like it's right when you say like being unique. When getting diagnosed is like at the start of the pandemic, not a really ideal time to
Yeah,
get diagnosed with arthritis and like
yeah.
like like um like how is it on like it, does it like change day to day like how you're feeling and stuff?
Day to day, it does change. It's very sometimes how I feel really depends on the weather. Because with joint pain and stuff, if there's different pressures in the temperature, if it's super foggy or super rainy or cloudy, your swelling does tend to go up. And I really feel like for me, sometimes it's so random. Like I'll wake up and be like, oh man, like my finger joints are really hurting today. And then maybe a couple hours later, it'll be like, oh shoot, like my knee is really hurting. And it's just kind of, it's very random, but also the same because I can expect that like my wrist will start to swell up, my fingers, my toes, and my knees. I think for me, that's really the joints that kind of swell up.
Yeah.
So when I wake up in the morning, I can expect one of them to probably hurt. It's just kind of a gamble which one it is.
Yeah, yeah, like it's a weird thing because in my kneecaps, like I've always struggled with my joints. Like for
Mhm.
example, I can't play sport. Well, I can, but I'll be aching for days afterwards. Like, um, I'll get really achy and I won't be able to move. Um,
Yeah.
but sometimes what I do with my kneecaps and they click and
Hmm.
quite bad. And if I don't, I suppose it's like a relief in a way. I know it's bad to do. Like everyone knows clicking your bones is bad, and
Yeah.
for everyone, like it's a fear of getting arthritis when you're older. And like
Hmm.
I know every type's different, but like a type that where your bones are gonna really ache and like
Yeah.
you're hard to move. And like in my kneecaps, every once in a while, most days I'll just click them, and like, it's kind of relief. Like it makes me feel better, but I know it's not good to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's one of those things where you're like cracking your fingers and you're like, oh man, it feels so good, but I shouldn't do it. But I think what you said about like you being able to do sports, but then you're like, I can do it, but I'm gonna suffer for 3 days after is like one of the most important things I think that people who don't have chronic illnesses don't really understand. it's like, sure, you know, I can play basketball and I can play soccer and I can play cricket one day and I'll be completely okay. But then you don't get to see the backstory of, you know, hours later, the day later, a week later, about how long it takes my body to recover to be able to do that again.
Yeah. It's like it's with a chronic illness. It's a visual, isn't it? It's what you look like, and if you're able to do something, and then you can't do it like for a few days, people will quickly like judge you and say like, why can't you do that? You could do it a few days ago.
Yeah. And I think like that's something that's, I guess unique to like our illnesses, is if you look at me and if you look at you, you wouldn't necessarily think that, you know, we could be qualified as like disabled people, or we have, you know, like disabled tendencies and things that we can't do that normal functioning body can do, right? It's just kind of the game of having an invisible illness.
Yeah, yeah. It's annoying, isn't it? Like we can't show it to other people because they can't see it, and um
Yeah.
um like even if it's affecting the outside of us, sometimes like especially like joints, like no one sees that, like only us can feel that really.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit more difficult to get people to understand, you know, how sick you really are. And maybe that's a good thing, right? I think there's a bunch of people who, you know, are in wheelchairs or have like, you know, very visible disabilities who wish that, you know, they could have something that was less visible. So,
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. Like at the start when you was diagnosed with arthritis, like how was you feeling about like you got a diagnosis?
right. So I think it was different for me because I feel like years before I actually got my official diagnosis, I had symptoms, but I just really wasn't aware about, you know, all of those little aches and pains and symptoms I had collectively actually make up like what the disease I have is. Because I remember having psoriasis on the back of my neck for quite a while, and I used to call it my like stress patch, where I feel like it would flare up and it would get really bad if I was under like a lot of stress. And I thought that that's just what it was because I didn't really even know what psoriasis was, to be completely honest. And then it would just be like my wrists were really starting to hurt because at that time I was a manager at a McDonald's, and there's a lot of wrist work like with tongs and fry baskets and things like that. And I remember thinking I had like tendonitis because I was like, it's so hard for me to squeeze things and hold things, and I was just wiped out all the time. I was constantly tired. And I think it was probably about 3 years I had that. And I didn't think that it was anything. And I wish that I had been more informed that you can get arthritis when you are in your 20s, because I feel like that's, oh, it's the old person disease, or, you know, you get arthritis when you retire. But
Yeah.
no, I was 20 years old. I was 21.
Yeah. It does make sense, like you're saying, because like when we're like in school, like and stuff, you feel like we should be clear, like
Yeah.
doing our knuckles and the fingers around, and then like you say, like it's only people would know, a lot of people would know um um about arthritis, where you can get, like as you say, it when you're older, but it's very like you don't get many people like young, really, like in the 20s, um and yeah, I suppose it must be hard like getting diagnosed quite young as well.
Yeah, it was a little strange because when like um my doctor, like my GP, and bless his soul, he's a very, very good doctor, and I'm very grateful for everything that he's done for me because he was really validating and he dealt with all of my stuff very quickly and got all my tests done really very quickly, which I know, you know, not a lot of people have that privilege. But when we were doing x-rays and things like that, I don't think he really thought that it could even be arthritis in the beginning, because he thought maybe like I had like a joint injury, or just like maybe tendonitis, or just like little things that are like easily treatable. And then as I didn't get put on like any medication or do like any treatment stuff, I think he gave me a prescription for naproxen, which is just like a you can get it over the counter. It's just like an over the counter, like anti-inflammatory pill, just to kind of settle the swelling. And then when he couldn't really figure out what it was, he brought me to a rheumatologist, and she was able to diagnose me pretty quickly because I was very by the books, stereotypical psoriatic arthritis diagnosis.
Yes.
And I remember sitting there being like, what? Like, and it was almost embarrassing because I studied gerontology and health studies in school. So I studied seniors and aging, and I couldn't even figure out on my own and really understand that you can get arthritis when you're in your 20s. And that just really goes to show that I literally studied this for 4 years, and I thought that it was really only old people get it, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, and like I think like with the pandemic that like people thinking like old people are like more vulnerable than younger people, which was quite annoying, and like pandemic is still going on, and
Yeah.
people forget about it that it is still going on. But yeah, that's quite annoying when people would say it's just old people who are vulnerable and not the younger people.
I mean, there have been like a couple times where like I'll still wear in Canada right now, we don't have a mask mandate really. If you want to use public transportation, you still wear your mask, and because I work at a nursing home and in a healthcare setting, you still have to wear your mask.
Hmm.
But sometimes if I'm walking down the street or I'm in a store or something, someone will be like, oh, well, like, why are you still wearing your mask? Like, why? And it's like, you don't know that I'm on immunosuppressants because, having arthritis, you have an overactive immune system. And
Yeah,
so the medication you take tries to, weaken your immune system, which is the last thing you want during the pandemic. But
definitely.
anyway, yeah. And it's, someone who looks at me and who sees that I'm young and I'm still wearing my mask. And they're like, well, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? It's like, well, just because I'm not an old person doesn't mean that I don't have a vulnerable body, right?
No, no. Like I know there are vulnerable people that are old, but
Yeah.
it is annoying, like, because being younger and not looking probably like you have an illness, which is silly, really, because we're not supposed to look like anything. If you got something like like some drugs that we take, cancer patients take, so that's it's like you say, like we would all rather not be on no medication, but if it helps us, like it's good, but we know that it'd be nice not to be on medication like at some point again.
Like the whole medication topic, like there's such a fine line and a balance between it because you don't want to go too far on either side. You don't want to be like, yeah, medication is the only thing that can help me, and then the other side being like, no, I can never take medication, I only need to eat this certain type of food and I'll feel okay. And I think people, who have autoimmune diseases and other chronic diseases, like in the beginning, it's really, really hard to find that balance between it's okay to take medication, but I also have to understand that my diet and exercise is really important. And there's just so much information out there that is just, it contradicts itself and it doesn't make sense and it's extremist. And like, even when you first get diagnosed, navigating how to take care of yourself is probably the hardest part.
Definitely, it is. Like you kind of you're unknown. I suppose it helps if you do know what it is a little bit, but for me, I didn't I didn't know anything
Yeah.
about it, and it was hard at the start, and you didn't really get much, I suppose, help, or just got given a leaflet and go home. So you look on the internet, and then you think you shouldn't have done that because it's not the best idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I remember growing up because like you had mentioned that my dad has Crohn's. It was like my mom had to do like so much advocacy and so much pushing and just really like had to push for the correct information and the correct help and the correct services because they just wanted to diagnose him and be like, oh, look, like you have this disease. Okay, try to manage it on your own. Right? It's just like
Yeah,
really.
that's it. Like, there's not like there is a good support system. Like seeing other people have it as well and stuff. But it is annoying that you still go to places, have to explain yourself. It's like anything, isn't it? Like any chronic illness, you have to explain yourself.
Yeah.
Probably maybe multiple times if it's not going into someone's brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably why, you have your Instagram and you do your podcast, and the same as, myself, like I do my Instagram and I will go on podcasts and stuff, because the people who understand us the most are the people who also have chronic conditions. And then we don't always have to explain ourselves to them. And I think that's why we found community online, just for that specific reason, is you don't always have to prove yourself. You don't always have to over explain yourself. They just kind of get it right away.
Yeah, like my friends who don't have a chronic illness, I won't really explain. Well, they know I have Crohn's and stuff, and I won't go into details, and like I won't say like what a fistula is, because they probably won't know what it is. And stuff like that, and like because you don't know how they're going to react to it. Like it's harder to start to talk about it though to different people, and because they don't know what a chronic illness is, like a certain one is themselves, so it's very hard.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, about support systems, I think, is there's so many different ways to support a person, and there's so many different types of support systems. Like, if I, talk to some of my, close friends who don't have a chronic disease, like, they'll be able to, kind of like hype me up and be like, like, you got this, you can do it, like, you're so this and that, and do you want to go grab coffee, do you want to do this, do you want to do that? And that's a great type of support, kind of getting me out of my bubble and getting me to go outside. But then when I talk to some of my, like, social media friends who actually have the same disease that I have, it's a different type of support, where they can be like, oh yeah, instead of this, I tried this. And when you go to your doctor, why don't you ask them about this? And it's just, both of those are valid. They're both good supports, and both, ways to be supported, but they're different and both valuable.
Yeah, they are, and it like there's different support systems. People like understand it a certain way, and you do have people that who do judge. Like I haven't found many people that judge my Crohn's, so like online either. Like no one's really mean. Like I find that's helpful.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is true. I haven't really experienced, I don't want to say that I've experienced any, like, discrimination based on my autoimmune disease. I haven't yet. I, hope that I never do.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
which is a good thing.
It is. It's a very good thing. Like we don't want that, do we?
No, we don't.
No,
But, other people do face that. So I think that there is a reason that, like, we do advocacy and, like, we do talk about it, because, the people who have faced discrimination, it's better to have a bunch of us, fighting for that not to happen anymore, than just, like, one single person.
yeah, and I suppose maybe one of the things would be maybe going to a toilet and getting asked why I'm in the disabled toilet by other people, and that's about it really. And like maybe taking longer than other people may, like just stand outside, and which is the annoying part. They just stand outside. I remember once. I remember once I was in London. I was in London, and I was there, and I went to this toilet, and a person outside was saying, "Why is he taking so long?" And I said, I didn't say. I just walked past him when I walk out. I didn't have a confrontation with him, and as much as I wanted to, I just thought there's no point. There's no point. He's in a wheelchair. He's going to say, "I'm disabled. You're not." And, which is the important thing about like talking about these things, is because everyone in the wheelchair, I'm disabled, but they're not the only ones.
Exactly. I think that's just you talking about your bathroom experiences, like, just brings me back to, like, remembering things about my dad. I think, I don't want to say what his feelings were. I don't want to say that it was anxiety, but I remember there was a lot of things that he didn't necessarily feel comfortable doing, because he's like, do I have access to a bathroom? Do I have access, to a private bathroom where I can just kind of, have my difficult bathroom experiences and not have three people beside me? And, like, I can't even imagine having to, like, go out into the world knowing that you have to navigate all these places, and really having to be like, okay, where can I find a bathroom? Where can I have privacy? How long can I go without having to use the washroom? It's just the mind of, like, a chronically ill person who has to go out and exist in a world that's not really made for them is very, very difficult.
Yeah, it is. And it should say on the disabled toilet, like illness like chronic illness on it. So they're saying like it's not just disabled people, like people like us, and they're like a toilet just made for us.
Right?
Or
Exactly.
something.
That would be helpful.
Yeah. And maybe put a do not disturb sign out there, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like
Yeah.
soundproof the walls, do not disturb, give me my 45 minutes, leave me alone.
Yeah, 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 and like I remember like I think my mum was having a torn to him, and I don't think he was having it, and he, but yeah, you do get people like that, and like I do have a don't I can't wait card, so it's I can just show it to people. It's not law or anything. I just show it, and I'm allowed to go in the toilet. Like I remember once I went to a concert. Um, Before the pandemic, and there was no at the concert. I knew the toilets were gonna be packed, and there was a McDonald's nearby, and it's quite funny because the McDonald's queue was going right outside the door, and they're all going for the disabled toilet because all the public ones are full. And then I skip it, of course, because I presume not all of them are going to be disabled, and they have some might have a chronic condition. You never know, but I wouldn't think all of them are disabled. So in my mind, I'm just laughing because they're all looking at me, thinking he's skipping the queue, he's skipping the queue. And then I said to a guy who was right at the door, I said, "Excuse me, can I get in?" He said, "Yep, yep." And then I think my mum was out there saying he's got Crohn's, and I don't know any of them knew what it was, but nowadays you get more people that do know. Like you say to someone that you've got Crohn's, and they say yeah. So it's very helpful, I think, with the community that's probably come across that, like other people talking about their stories and gaining awareness.
I guess I had like a similar experience because where I'm at right now, I can't really stand up straight for long periods of time. I'd say maybe I have a good 3 minutes where I can kind of like stand still, just in like one spot. And I was coming home on the train once, and I had my dog with me and my fiance with me as well, and it was super packed because it was a Sunday. There were like a couple like events going on, and the train was just incredibly packed, and there was no spot for me to just like sit at all. I had to stand, and like the anxiety that I had about that, because I was like, I don't even think I can do it. And I felt, uncomfortable going up to someone and being like, hey, I have like severe arthritis in my knees. Like, can you give me your seat? Because I feel like they'll look at me and they won't even believe me. And it's almost like uncomfortable for me because I don't want to have to make not excuses for myself, but I don't want to burden myself in the situation and have to be like, oh, can you do this for me? Or because I'm a disabled person, or, oh, can I have your seat that you got to first because I can't handle standing up that long? And there's just so many thoughts, like I said before, that you have as like a chronically ill person, like being in the community, like, are people going to understand what I'm saying to them? Like, are they going to be gracious with me and, let my condition overcome the things that they want to do? And that's kind of like with you in the bathroom, right? When there's a long line and you're at a concert and you're like, technically, my needs should come before all of these other people, but who's to say that they feel the same way?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Like I used to care what people think and stuff when I was younger and stuff, but so now I don't. Like, of course I care about people's feelings and stuff, like in a chronic illness sense. Like if they moan at me about something, and like why I'm in the loo so long, why am I skipping the queue, I'll just say I've got Crohn's. And like there was one situation, I went to a restaurant because I needed a toilet, and I asked the guy, I didn't say I had Crohn's to start with, I wanted to see if he was going to let me in first. I went to see, so I said, can I use your toilet? And they didn't have public toilet, it was only staff toilet. It was a bit odd. And they said, no, only staff only. And then I said, I've got Crohn's, can I use your toilet? And he still said no. And then I got this weight card, so I showed him it, and then he let me in then. And then I said to him, you have something to clean up on your floor. You might have to, if you don't let me go. So I think that made his choice to
I'm gonna start threatening people and be
yeah.
like, hey, if you let me do this, you're gonna suffer.
Yeah, and I went, yeah, no, it was good. Like I think now I have like a little lanyard, like saying like I'm compromised immune system and stuff, which like people with lanyards can get probably a bit. It's hard to wear one because you don't know how people will react, and like obviously by wearing one. So I do have one. Like I've just worked hard. The lanyard more for COVID really. Just saying, I'm compromised if I'm going out into close contact, which is not so much now because over in the UK all the restrictions are scrapped, and nothing, like no more, and kind of forgotten about a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you say that because I've really considered getting myself either like a button or like a lanyard or something, just so that it's not up to me to kind of like ask you to give up your seat or like let me take up this space, where you can kind of see, you know, my button or my lanyard or something and just sort of put it upon yourself to kind of do the courteous thing, instead of me having to like awkwardly muster up the courage to be like, hey, I can't stand, can I have your seat?
Yeah, it's hard. Do you find it like really hard just to ask someone like to do that, like to like?
Personally, I do. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes I would rather struggle through the pain than ask someone to help me, which I think is something most people do when they first get diagnosed. Because I've only really officially been diagnosed for about a year and a bit. So I'm going to think that as I continue on with my journey, I'm not going to care anymore, and I'll just ask whoever I want.
Yeah.
But right now, yeah, I do get kind of uncomfortable because I feel like people won't believe me because of the way that I look. And I feel like if I have to kind of defend myself a little bit and be like, hey, you know, like I actually have this problem, I'll probably get emotional about it, and I don't think it would end very well.
No.
So like on my journey now, I'm not really comfortable with it. But I do have to say that it does help me when I go out with my fiance, because I feel like having that like support and that encouragement does make a difference. Where if someone gets up from their seat and a whole bunch of people are, you know, gathering towards it, like my fiance Max would be like, you should try to like get there first, and you should, you know, make sure you get that seat instead of letting other people go ahead of you. And I'll be like, yeah, you're right. Like I should be the person to get that seat. I shouldn't have to just like suffer through it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Like if your partner's there with you, I suppose that helps. Like maybe he can do that for you if you feel uncomfortable. And say, could you move? And yeah, like it's hard. Like it's hard for that. Like to ask people to move, and like I don't like people too close with me. Like even before the pandemic. But like I would like to get like social space. And like it's harder now because like if you want to meet up with a friend, I have to ask them, could you do like a flow test just to have a little chat? Can you wear a mask? Can you bring one? It's harder now. Like you never used to have really asked. People just want me to do it, and some people do. Like I'll wear one when I go to places and like do a natural flow test, but by being at home quite a lot of the time because of things rising and stuff, and I don't so do that as much. But it is it's hard to ask people to do different things, isn't it?
I think there's a possibility for something really positive to come out of the pandemic. And I know that's such a crazy statement and people might be like, what? But I think it has given, you know, people that are immunocompromised and people with disabilities, it has almost kind of like amplified their voices and amplified their experiences a little bit, and be like, you know, you have to understand what I'm saying. You have to listen to me, because as you can see, it's like a life or death situation. And I think any sort of spreading light on autoimmune disorders will always be a good thing. I hope that we don't have to go through many, many pandemics for people to understand. I'm hoping this is just the one, because I don't think anyone wants to go through this again. But there is a possibility for, the government and community to really understand what it's like to live in a society with chronically ill people, and how we have to listen to them and we have to understand their experiences in order for our society to be well functioning and for us to be, successful, really.
Yeah, I agree, and like with like your medical system, like how is that over there? Like, are they quite good?
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give them like a 7.5 or an 8. Sure. I think there's a lot of really, really beneficial things with the Canadian healthcare system, and specifically in Ontario, it's not too bad. But for me, I've had, access to a family doctor who I've had since I was born. And I really feel like that's important because he's kind of been with me. He's been my doctor through my whole entire life, right? So I think we have that good, patient doctor connection. Yeah. And he was really able to advocate for me. And I think that that's the most important thing, is if your doctor listens to you and they understand you and they give you the tests that need to be done. And in Canada, I didn't have to pay for any of my tests, which is amazing, right? And I know some people in the States don't have that luxury. But it took me 3 months to see my rheumatologist. And I only think that it took 3 months because of the pandemic. I feel like if there wasn't a pandemic, it would have been faster. And 3 months, it was really not a long wait at all in comparison to what it possibly could be. But once again, I got really lucky because my rheumatologist, she is amazing. She listens to me, and she really makes sure that she's like very clear about things. Sometimes when I go see her, I don't know if this happens to you too, but I'll have all of these ideas in my head of, okay, I'm going to tell my doctor this, I'm going to blah, 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 and I'm going to be super prepared. And then I get to her office and I just like sit and let her talk to me, and I don't say anything. And I'm like, damn, I had all these things I wanted to say, but I just kept quiet the whole time.
Yeah, I get shy,
anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I have been really lucky that I have had really great doctors, and they've made the experience of getting diagnosed and starting medication a whole lot easier just because of that.
Yeah, it's good that they are good. Like, and you didn't have to pay as well. Like, it was free for you. Like, it's like over here we have, it's quite cool that we have a national healthcare system, so we don't really have to pay for medication. But there was a time, like, if I like the medication I take, I was going to come off it. I was soon to come off it because of the antibodies of like going affecting it, and there are enough for me to stay on it, and that's good because I do it at home. I don't have to go into hospital or anything. So I don't like when I go into hospital, like even especially when cases are rise of COVID, because that's a place where most people will be.
Exactly.
Although it's a good place if your Crohn's or chronic pain is there, but it's annoying that you have to go into like over here A&E, over there probably thought ER, but it's I don't think that's right. I spoke to lots of people. I say the same thing because I feel like it's not right that people with chronic illnesses should, if they are in hospital for some emergency, they shouldn't be going into those sort of places. They should be going somewhere else.
For sure. Yeah, most definitely. And sometimes even the hospitals don't understand, what your condition even is and how, like, accessibility with that. Because, like, for example, I was in the hospital one time because I have to have like an IUD, so like this specific type of birth control for the medication that I have to take. And there was some like issues going on with it, and I thought maybe it had moved because there was some problems. And I was in the hospital for a really long time, and I told the nurse that like I have, I have arthritis. It's my autoimmune condition. I can't sit in this chair with my knees, at a 90-degree angle for a really long time. like it's super painful and like I'm uncomfortable. So I was wondering if I could sit in one of the recliner chairs. And she told me no. And I was like, well, nobody's even using those chairs. And like, I need to elevate my legs because, you know, they're going to just be swollen and I'm not going to be able to use them tomorrow. And she just wouldn't do it. And I'm like, this place is not set up for me. I'm not just your average person who can come in and sit on a chair and wait for 4 hours. Now, I don't mind waiting, but you have to have some type of accommodation for my illness. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I remember like before it was last year. It was like late last year, and like you had to sit down in the waiting area, and you had to tell them where you were sitting, because because they would have to wipe the seat afterwards. That's what they were doing, and um, I sat on one seat, then I moved over to another one because um, I didn't want to sit at a certain place. I wanted to sit away from everyone, and they were saying that I couldn't, and it was annoying. So they pushed me, and I'm allowed to go in this room where no one is. Like, it was quite cool. Well, someone unfortunately like passed away, and they did a fundraiser for a room for people that want the space, and so when I go into hospital, I can go into that room and just stay away from people, especially in COVID times, and it's good. And like like you say, everyone at hospital doesn't understand, and like I know quite a lot of people there. They recognise me. I don't know about you, when you go into hospital, that someone might just go by you saying, "Oh, hey."
Yeah. For me, it's not the hospital, it's my pharmacy. So every time I walk into the pharmacy, my pharmacist is like, "Oh, hey, Aleina, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Oh God, me and my pharmacist are best friends. This is crazy."
Yeah, it is crazy. And like, for example, if I go for a blood test, they know me, and um, have a little conversation and stuff. And like, as much as like I don't mind having a conversation, I kind of just want to go in there and leave.
Yeah,
um,
it's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, like I think it takes them slower as well. Yeah, if you talk to them, and they'll be like, like, how you been?
Yeah.
Like we had a conversation about a storm, because there was a storm at the time when I went last time.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, I like people that do like injections that I'm used to, though. I wouldn't like some newbie come here
Yeah.
and plonk someone in my arm.
Well, it's funny because you know you go there every week or every month or whenever you go, and you're like, you know, I'm glad this is such a warm and inviting environment. And I'm glad I know everybody, and that's all cool. But sometimes you're like, oh great, I come here so much that everyone knows me. Isn't that kind of sad?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like I don't know them very well though. Well, they like I know. I don't really know. I think I forget the names, but I know the faces. I know the faces. I know who they are. Like, I know where they work, like the section and stuff. But
Yeah.
like it, I hate it when like you're going for an appointment, and the like doctor or consultant is late. Like in the past, I've been there an extra hour, and it's all late.
That's annoying. I think I've had that to me a couple times where I'm like, okay, it's been like 20 minutes. And I'm like, I just want to get this part of my day over with. And I know you're super busy with the show on the road. I don't want to have to think of it anymore.
Yeah.
Can
Yes.
imagine how much of time you in the hospital, seeing doctors, getting treatment. It's, you know, people who are chronically ill, so much of their life is spent waiting. Like I'm waiting to get this new medication. I'm waiting to see my doctor. I'm waiting to see if this will work. And that's just exhausting.
It is very exhausting, like explaining ourselves all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just funny how one person can have a completely different disease, but because, you know, we're still in the category of chronically ill, we have very similar experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Like speaking to different people, or but other chronic illnesses as well. It's really interesting. Like learning about different ones. Because although like I've got Crohn's and like you got arthritis, it's nice hearing about other ones, like there's ones that I've never heard of before, and like you understand like why people talk about it, because so people understand it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just good to know that you're part of a community, and even if someone doesn't have the same disease as you or the same diagnosis as you can still learn from them, and you can still appreciate their experiences, and you can still have a conversation and be like, yeah, we're all in the same boat. Sometimes it's a little different, but it's the same boat.
Yeah, we're always learning, aren't we, about new things. About like I've learned. Well, I'm always learning, but I think we learn when we don't realize it as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. I've definitely learned some like tips and tricks on how to manage my arthritis through the people online. And now I feel like my heating pad is probably my best friend in the entire world. And I never used it before. I never used a heating pad until I saw everyone else on the internet is doing it. And I'm like, okay, let me try out this heating pad. Let me see what it's about. And now I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Like like especially like in the flare, I'd use my hot water bottle and stuff, and it distracts you, I think, from the
Yeah.
pain, even though it's still there, and you just think of other things, and like it's hard, and like as much as you're in that pain, you do not want to go into hospital. I think that's the thing you fear, like you don't want to go in hospital. There's lots of different fearful things about having a chronic illness and in hospital, so it's it's hard, isn't it?
It's interesting because I feel like if someone who had like a normal functioning body, if they went through half the pain that someone like you and me have to go through, they'd be in the hospital every day. But I think we just get used to it. And then, that's interesting because it's another part of learning about your illness is like, what is my regular pain? And then what is this is so bad, something's wrong, I have to go to the hospital.
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, like it's hard. Like I remember the pain I had was always Sharpie. Um, it was it was Sharpie, stabby, and in my stomach, and um, lost a lot of weight. I did. I lost quite a lot of weight, and I wasn't eating anything before I was diagnosed. Like the months within before, not knowing what was going on and stuff, and it was it was tough because I couldn't eat, and like when I had tried a little bit of food, I was full, and liquid drinks and stuff, and then having a kind of lost me in the end, but and then that's how I found out I had Crohn's. Like I was empty anyway. You have to drink, you do, and empties you.
Yep, the boosts and the insures, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't like that. I didn't. But because of the drink, it was horrible. It was, and like as I was empty anyway, I was thinking, is there any point? But it's got to be make sure.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second? My laptop is gonna die. Can I just
Yeah,
like grab the charger?
yeah,
I will be right back.
yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah,
it
of course, of course.
okay.
We'll just we wait a few minutes.
Yes, I'm just grabbing 1 second.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
I should have checked how charged my laptop. Okay. And excuse me if you saw my Superman pajamas because I'm wearing pajama pants.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
I interrupted.
Like with the arthritis, why how soon after your diagnosis did you decide to like talk about it on like social media and stuff?
Well, it was actually kind of interesting because when I first got diagnosed with arthritis, I actually did lose a couple friends, to be completely honest. And I think I just felt like I was very alone in the beginning. And even I felt alone just like sitting with myself because I didn't really understand, A, why I had arthritis, B, how this changes the course of what I wanted my life to look like. And C, I just felt like I didn't even know my own body anymore and who I was. And I feel like for everyone, when you first get like a chronic illness, you almost have like an identity crisis, because you're like, I feel like I have to be a completely new person. And I feel like everything that I've planned for my life, I don't know if I can do those things anymore. And so, like, on top of having kind of my own like identity crisis and like losing a lot of people who I was close to because they didn't really understand, or they made it about themselves, and it's a whole bunch of different things, I didn't really know what else to do except for go on social media and see if anybody else was having the same experiences that I was having. And then that's when I just kind of really understood that there are so many people who are my age and who have, psoriatic arthritis. And that for a long time, I just kind of followed them, and I didn't post anything of my own, or I didn't like change my Instagram into like an advocacy page. I just sort of took probably 2 months just to kind of settle understanding my own diagnosis for myself and then learning from other people. And then I started kind of posting on my own and making funny reels and making fun of myself and making fun of all the stupid chronic illness things that we all have to deal with. And that's been probably the most amazing experience for me, to be completely honest.
Yeah, yeah, like it's good that you have, and like you find people that who do accept you for who you are, and in a way, although some of your friends might have been like you say, like close friends of yours, but in a way you may think to yourself it's good that they know, and like if they don't accept you, it's their own loss.
Yeah.
Like it's not your fault, it's their fault for not really accepting like who you really are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for people who suffer with chronic pain and, chronic illness and chronic fatigue and stuff, is it's a whole different level of just like your regular pain. Like when I say that my joints are hurting, it's because, they're swollen and they're grinding on themselves and they have so much pressure on them, because my body isn't super functional in that moment. It's not because, oh, I went on a really long walk and my legs are tired. Like, it's so different. And I think it's hard for people to really understand that the type of pain that you experience is not the type of pain that I experience. And your tiredness from working, during the week is not the same as my constant chronic fatigue.
Yeah.
And people who don't really understand that tend to label us as, selfish, or you're so extreme, other people are in pain, other people are in fatigue. And it's like, people who don't have chronic illnesses will be the first ones to say that, because they don't understand that it's completely different.
Yeah, and like do you remember like before your diagnosis of arthritis, and like and when you were younger, maybe like fatigue, because like that's the hardest thing about a chronic illness, because we say we got fatigue, and everyone gets fatigue, really, don't they? But can you tell the difference between like fatigue beforehand and like fatigue now? Like, has it like got worse than fatigue before?
Well, I think for me, I was always kind of not a sickly child, but I always kind of had my own little like aches and pains that I didn't really pay attention to. And I remember in high school, I was tired all the time, but I hadn't been diagnosed yet. I didn't have any swelling, I didn't have any symptoms, but I was always tired. I used to come home and just want a nap, and my mom would be like, are you taking drugs? Like, what are you doing? I'm just tired, please. That's it. I'm not doing anything. But there are little things that have changed. Like when I first started university, I was able to type on my keyboard and I was able to write, and it didn't bother me. But towards the end of, my university experience, just a couple months before I got diagnosed, I couldn't even hold a pen, let alone like spend 10 minutes writing. Oh my goodness, no. So there were little differences, but in terms of my childhood, I feel like I was always tired. I was always fatigued.
Yeah, fatigue is not nice, is it? Like, I'm the same. I go for sleep, and we can wake up tired, can't we? Like we haven't been to sleep.
Yeah. I don't think, unless you've really experienced it, you can understand what it's like to sleep for 12 hours and wake up and be like, oh my God, I really need a nap. or, oh, I don't have the energy to do anything that's around me. No matter how much you sleep, you're not getting the energy back. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Um, especially with friends as well, like losing friends, thinking that you can't make a meet up or something because you're too tired to go. And
Yeah.
and some may think they won't understand and say you're just doing it because you can't be asked to
Yeah.
get up, you can't be asked to leave the house and stuff. And yeah,
Exactly. I think for me, I haven't experienced that too much, only because I got diagnosed during a pandemic and no one was asking to go out
yeah, of course.
anyways. So,
Yeah,
I mean, maybe in the next few months I'll experience that, but I do feel like the friends that I have now are very, very good. And most of them live in a different city than me. So already there isn't that added pressure where like we live beside each other. So like, why aren't we hanging out all the time? They know they only see me once or twice a month anyways. So
yeah.
hoping that stays the same.
That's good though. It's good, like, not to meet up with people like some of my friends. Like we are good friends, and we won't talk for ages, like a good month or so, and then it's nice to not meet someone after so long, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're catching up. If you're meeting up all the time, you'd be like, you ain't got much to talk about, have you?
But even with texting, like I think sometimes you just don't have the energy to text someone back, or like you don't have the energy to FaceTime or text them, or it's, and I don't mean to be mean when I say this, but sometimes, keeping your friendship connections kind of go to the bottom of your list when you have a million other things you have to take care of with your health.
That's it.
And hopefully you would think that your friends can understand that when you're someone who's sick, they can't be your number one priority all the time. It's not possible, or you won't be able to take care of yourself.
No, that's it. And people take things to heart. So sometimes, like, thinking that it's because of them, like what they've done wrong, why not answering me. And yeah, so sometimes if I don't answer someone because I'm physically drained, I get answers. Like in the past, I've had phone breaks, and I get a million texts saying, "Why not answer me? Wait, well, that because a phone break's good every once in a while. Like I could do it. I could I could do it quite a lot of the time if I wanted to, but yeah,
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, is when you have a chronic illness, like you have to make yourself a priority every single time, because if you don't, you're going to just lose your body and you're not going to be able to do anything else. And even like for me, like even in romantic relationships, having to put yourself first sometimes is really, really difficult. And there's guilt that comes with that too. Like if I can't, oh, I can't go grocery shopping, and then I get my fiance to do it. Or, oh man, like I can't meal prep for the week, so he has to do it. Or I can't do laundry this week, so he has to do it. And then everything kind of gets like put on him so that I can just rest my body or rest mentally, physically and stuff. Like that's a whole other relationship that you have to navigate when you have a chronic illness, which is very difficult, more difficult than the friendship stuff.
yeah, it's very complicated, isn't it? Like love relationships
Yeah.
and stuff like it's silly things as well, like about texting, like who's going to text first or stuff like that. Um, especially in a pandemic, it's very hard. Like love relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Can't really go out on any dates or do anything, so you're like, I got to do everything alone now.
Yeah. I had that situation like the first year and a bit in 2021, and then decided I can't do it because I can't hold your hand. I can't do anything because one, that they're not like being as safe as me. Like, they don't have to be as safe as me and stuff. So it's kind of best not to, and wait for something to come up when COVID has calmed down a lot, I would say. But hopefully that's soon. We will say this every year, don't we? Every year since it started. Hopefully soon.
Yeah. Every year, like, oh yeah, just 3 more months. 2 years later, you're like, damn, how long have I been saying 3 more months?
Yep. And then we'll be saying the summer next, won't we? Hopefully it's summer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, maybe this summer.
Yeah.
Maybe by Christmas we'll be fine.
It's weird, because in the UK, last few years, it's been like in the summer. It hasn't been like the summer. It's been like the winter or something. Like in the spring, it's more just like the summer, and it's very weird the seasons.
Yeah, I know. Right. I think I've been a little bit thankful because in Canada we haven't really been getting a lot of snow as like we usually do, or the weather hasn't been as cold as it usually is. And everyone is so grateful for that, and me too, because I'm like, oh man, my joints, I wouldn't be able to handle the snow, or walking in snow boots is, I can't even think about doing
Yeah.
that. Oh my God.
Like it's very cold, isn't it? Like the snow, like even maybe want to build a snowman.
Yeah.
I remember last year it was normally February where it snows. Very rare at Christmas time when it does snow over here. But as it snowed this year so far, um, which I don't mind going out there. Like I remember, like I don't mind going out in the snow. It's something to do, but I'd rather avoid it.
For sure. I wish I could avoid it more,
Mhm.
but it's crazy that it's just another thing that someone who has like a chronic illness has to deal with. Is just like, all right, well, what's the weather going to be? How is it going to affect my body? And the average person won't wake up and think about that. They're like, I'll check the weather. All right, I got to put an extra sweater on, no problem. But I'll check it and be like, oh God, I'm going to suffer for the next 3 days because it's negative 20 outside.
Yeah, that's it. Like sometimes it might look really sunny outside when you're looking outside, and when you get out there, oh, it's a bit cold.
Yeah.
Should have brought a coat or a jumper or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like with like ulcerative colitis, what would you say is one of the best things you can take out of having it? Would you say?
Like having arthritis?
Yeah, yeah, having arthritis.
What is the best thing? You know what? I have to say that having arthritis has really taught me to put myself first. I think I've always been a really big people pleaser, and I think I've always had really bad anxiety about making everybody happy around me, especially in like my work environments and with like friendship relationships and stuff. And if I've had one takeaway, it's just that I really have to focus on myself, and I have to try to take my health into my own hands and just like really listen to my body and not listen to anything else that's surrounding my head about what my expectation for my life is supposed to be. And I'm not perfect at it. I definitely still, get some outside factors being like, you have to work full time because, you have to make that money in order to survive and blah, blah, blah. And I'll pick up extra shifts and I'll work more than my body wants me to. But I'm slowly learning that that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that I listen to my body and I respect myself and I figure out how to navigate this illness
Yeah,
that I'm going to have for the rest of my life.
definitely. And you must be really tired all the time now because how much you do work and not having like I think 2 days a week, isn't it? Off.
Yeah. I it's getting to me a little bit. I've been doing it for probably 8 months now, and I am a little bit burnt out, and I do feel like I need some time off. I have like 2 weeks of vacation that I'm able to take in the summer, but that's still a couple months away. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I might try to sneak another week in there, even if it's unpaid or something,
Yeah,
just to kind of get a
yeah.
little bit of time to recover.
It goes fast, doesn't it? Like having time off and like first week's gone. I've got 1 week left.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is like my bosses, my coworkers will be like, oh, you have 2 days off to be able to deal with all your stuff. And it's like on my day off, if I have to go see 2 doctors, that's not a day off. That's not me resting. It's not me relaxing. That was nothing. That's not a break.
No, no. Like with like your mental health. Like how's your mental health been like recently?
Probably not the greatest,
Hmm.
not as good as it has been in the past. But it's hard to have good mental health when you're exhausted all the time and you have pain insomnia where you can't sleep throughout the night. And if you don't get sleep as a what, as an able-bodied person, if you don't get sleep, your mental health can, slip. But as someone who's chronically ill, if you don't get sleep and your pain gets worse and your fatigue, gets way worse, like your mental health is going to be one of the first things that goes down the drain. And I know for me, I haven't exactly figured out yet how to have the best mental health I could possibly have while having an autoimmune disorder. I haven't figured it out yet. It's not good, but and I hate to say this because I hate when people say it to me, but sometimes it's all about your mindset and it's all about your attitude. And you have to wake up every day, whether you're sick or not, and you have to try your best to put your best foot forward. Some days you can, some days you can't. Most times I can't, but that's okay. Some days I can.
Yep. You do. Yeah, you have to. And like, I've learned that as well. You've got to put yourself forward. Like, stop. You can still care for other people and stuff, but just like your chronic illness kind of beats anything. Like, even if there's something you really want to do, like maybe there's a concert or a friend you really want to see, and you can't go, and you're physically drained, and you feel like you'll sleep and you won't be much good company. So you need to, that's the important thing. Yeah, put yourself first.
There's a lot of things that people who are chronically ill have to sacrifice in order for them to feel okay. And people getting upset about that, or, oh, we made plans and then you canceled on them. Like, that guilt that people can sometimes give us isn't helpful, and in fact makes it worse, because the next time you won't say no, and then you're going to feel like crap the next 3 days, and you're like, why didn't I just listen to myself and respect my body and just not go?
Yeah, that's it. It's hard, isn't it? Like, it's hard. Like, mental health is hard to speak about as well. I feel like, I think like last few years it maybe talked about a bit more during the pandemic. Like, people not coping without even a chronic illness as well. And then imagine how us feel when we're used to it sometimes. And and
I think sometimes these stereotypical wellness activities that people say are great for your mental health, sometimes they're not accessible, because someone like me, I can't do yoga all the time because I can't have the pressure on, the back of my feet and the back of my hands. So you can scream, oh, do yoga, it'll be so good for you, all you want. For, mental health stuff, like, do yoga, it'll make you feel better. And I'm not disagreeing that it doesn't. I'm positive that it does, but I can't do that all the time because my body won't let me. So sometimes these things that are good for our mental health aren't actually accessible for the people who need it the most, or they're not able to do it.
Definitely, and I agree. Like, I agree with what you're saying. Like, you're not, like, you can't like physically do it because of arthritis. Like, you don't know how it's going to be, and you probably feel like me doing this yoga will probably make it worse. As well. Yeah.
But there's a million different things that I think are wrong with the wellness community. I think their approach to wellness and mental health and all that stuff is, it's so good that we're talking about it, but they're not making it accessible for everyone because it's crazy expensive. And I don't want to buy your lavender your lavender candle that's $30 that's supposed to calm my anxiety when it's $30 a candle. Like, that's not helping anybody.
No.
Unless it's supported. But
definitely not. Definitely not. Well, Aleina, before we go, I just wanted to say, like, is there any like final things you want to say? Maybe any advice, like, with your like, is there any advice you want to give out? Last bits of advice, even, because I know we've given quite a lot of it. Anything else you want to say?
I think if I had to give anybody advice, it would just have to be like, you have to be patient with yourself, and you can't expect that you're going to have it all figured out right away. And I know when you first get diagnosed, or if you've been diagnosed for a long time, you're like, oh, like, why is my life so like this? Why do I still feel like this? Why am I still stuck in this sickness? It takes time to understand your body and how to live your life with a chronic illness, because this isn't something that's going to go away. And as you get older and as you have different experiences, the way that you want to approach it is going to change. So it's just, if I had to say anything, just like, be patient with yourself and just show your body the most respect you can show it by loving it and being patient with it even when you're mad at it, and it fails you sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I think it's really good advice, Aleina, and it's been really nice talking to you as well. Yeah, we spoke about a lot of things, haven't we? Like about
Yeah.
chronic illnesses and everything.
I feel like you could talk about this topic for hours. There's so many different things you could talk about, and little experiences and big experiences and stuff. It could be a long conversation.
It could be. We could be here all day, couldn't we?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I don't think we'll fall asleep though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Aleina, thank you again. It's been really nice talking to you.
Of course. Thank you for having me anytime.
Yeah. We'll definitely keep in contact as well.
Sure. Thank you so much for this opportunity.